Ethiopia. Next, representative of Bangladesh. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and panelists. Thank you, everybody, for giving me opportunities. I'm representing Bangladesh delegates. We would like to make the following points. Firstly, the Global Compact should call upon member states to strengthen their linkage with respective migrants, workers, and diaspora communities and develop a dedicated plan of action to best utilize the social and financial remittance. Secondly, the Global Compact should push for an enabling framework through which the multifaceted contributions of migrants and diasporas would be duly mapped and challenged and fully utilized to attain sustainable development. Thirdly, the Global Compact should also stress on creating a conducive environment in the countries of origin. So, the investment made by the diaspora are transmitted through regular and secure channels utilized in a transparent manner for maximizing its benefit. Fourthly, migrants, investors, and diaspora groups are to be included in multi-sectorial dialogues aiming to frame national development strategies, greater institutional coordination, and more coherence between migration-related policies will be required. The compact may like to suggest some guidelines and drawing on best practices in different countries. More researches are to be conducted on trans-border capital and transferring to ensure portability of earned benefits. Practice of brain exchange and circular migration are to be more customized, transparent, and smooth. The compact should call for collective efforts in this regard. The Global Compact should advocate policies to help foster reintegration of their nationals. Global Compact should bring out a collective commitment from member states to address obstacles for diaspora involvement in their countries of origin. For implementing of all suggestions and support of local political leaders and parliamentarians is imperative. The Global Compact should address these particular issues. Fundamental policies of human rights should be included in Global Compact for migrants and diasporas in destination and source country, as they are workers, and workers' rights are universal fundamental rights. I thank you, Mr. Moderator.
I thank the representative.
Next speaker is Bangladesh. You have the floor, sir. Yeah, Bangladesh, if you can use your mic. Yes, you have it here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me the floor. I also thank the distinguished panelists for their excellent presentation. My delegation would like to highlight the following points. First, the Global Compact should suggest concrete ways for fulfilling the commitments in connection with remittances and portability for earned benefits already agreed in Agenda 2030. It should develop indicators to allow effective monitoring of implementation of these commitments, bilateral or regional contracts amongst banks and postal offices, and remittance providers will be helpful. Second, transaction cost of migration remittance should be brought down to less than 30%, and remittance corridors with cost higher than 5% should be eliminated. Remittance fees could be reduced significantly if they were converted to a flat fee instead of a percentage of the principal transfer. Moreover, a common solution needs to be found to reduce currency conversion-related losses. Compact should indicate ways for doing all this. Third, SDG's goal 10C could be pursued by promoting and enabling environment for cost-effective remittance transfer methods, including through providing transparency and enhanced competition among remittance service providers through new technology and the reduction of cumbersome regulations that cause de-risking. Global Compact may develop a global protocol in this regard. Fourth, national governments are to develop more lucrative packages to attract the migrants and diaspora groups to use formal and regulated channels for remittance transfer. The role of brokers must be eliminated. GCM may create a template for that. Fifth, the Global Compact should lay down an agreeable normative guideline for regulating remittance market. It should create incentive for the private sector to expand adapted services linked to remittance. Six, Global Compact should promote accessible and gender-responsive financial education. Seventh, equating remittance sending with money laundering must be stopped. Global Compact must uphold this narrative. Eight, banking access for migrants must be increased. Ninth, Global Compact should promote the best practices of introducing bilateral and multilateral agreements to provide social security coverage and benefits. Lastly, Global Compact should promote researches on technology for more secure and cheaper transfer of remittance, portability of earned benefit, and enhancing data availability. I thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bangladesh is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, on behalf of Bangladesh delegation, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Mexican government for hosting this excellent meeting. Due to time constraint, I will be very brief and would like to emphasize the Bangladesh government's commitment towards safe, orderly, and regular migration. Our government, and especially our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, have taken a number of positive initiatives. For example, enactment of Migration Act 2013, Migration Policy 2016, and Skill Development Policy, NRV Bank, and Migrants Welfare Bank. We have made important migration services more accessible at local level. Our newly formed National Parliamentary Caucus on Migration and Development conducted 10 multi-stakeholders consultations and public hearing at national and regional levels to gather evidence for making necessary reforms in the migration sector. I strongly believe that parliamentarians can play an important overseeing role for implementation of the Global Compact. I would like to emphasize 3 critical issues for your consideration in the Global Compact. Issue 1, ethical recruitment, including reducing the high cost of migration and regulation the role of middlemen. We understand that it is important to work collectively with sending countries of transit and receiving countries. We found that many aspirant migrants are subject to exploitation, and this exploitation cannot be eradicated without without regulating the middlemen at both ends. During the consultation and public hearing organized by our parliamentary caucus, we found that middlemen play an important role in the different stages of migration cycle. They are neither recognized nor regulated in any legal instrument at national or international levels. We are bringing people together to find out how this group can be better regulated. I believe that the state parties, especially the receiving countries, should consider how this process can be regulated in their countries. I am happy to know from Bahrain delegate that they have introduced a system to recruit migrants without host sponsorship. This example can be replicated by other countries as well. We also found a huge lack of transparency in the labor recruitment process in sending and receiving countries. Most often recruiters don't follow ethical process, and this causes high cost and ultimately leaves migrants in vulnerable situation. Our recommendation is that countries should follow ethical process in recruitment and abide by global labor standards. Issue 2, protection of women migrants. Honorable Chair, I would like to emphasize the pressing issues related to women migrants' human rights, safety and security. We found that many of them experience sexual, mental and physical abuse and exploitation. Sometimes their employers seize their passport so that they are bound to serve in unpleasant environments. Our consultation brought out many causes of denial of assistance of responsible authorities and denial of access to justice. There should be a strong commitment to legally binding mechanism that ensure protection of female workers and compliance in receiving countries with international labor standard. In addition to that, both labor sending and receiving countries should have obligatory and comprehensive bilateral agreements to protect migrants' rights. Issue 3, social protection for all migrants and their family members. We stress that the GCM should call for strengthening national social protection system so that migrants have access to justice, information and basic service like health care and education. Such protection is particularly important for those migrants who are in vulnerable situation. I thank you, Mr. Chair and panels and all participants for your patience to hear my statement. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. And next.
Okay, so the next one is Bangladesh and then Greece. Bangladesh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and distinguished participants. I'm happy to say Bangladesh has formed a national parliamentary caucus on migration and development, including parliamentarians who are members of Parliamentary Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs and Executive Ministry, Labour Ministry, Home Ministry and Local Government Ministry. To the issue of migration, we have arranged 10 multi-stakeholders consultation in regional and national level, consulting participants from the civil societies, victim and survivors, recruiting agents, administrative peoples, media men, and so many stakeholders. I am chair of that caucus. Mr. Moderator, the phenomenon of migration should be politicized, should not be politicized or criminalized. In this spirit and zero tolerance towards spreading racism, discriminations, and xenophobia against migrants and refugees needs to be premised in our national policies to deal with human mobility. Effective global governance is the key to achieve safe, orderly, and regular migration. This needs dialogues and shared understanding at global, regional, and national, local levels. I especially stress on the following: investing the capacity building both in countries of origin and destination, strengthening national protection system, circular migration, humanitarian visa schemes, seasonal working visa schemes may be promoted to tackle the irregular flow of migration. Zero tolerance to human trafficking, at the same time ensure respect for the human rights of trafficking victims and not holding them as criminal in the eyes of law, promoting the recognition and accreditation of migration work skill and education, promoting their recruitment practices, creating provisions for the diaspora to contribute to the development of their countries of origin. We have some national priorities. I would better say these are our expectations from the GCMA. Strengthening global governance for international migration with gender-sensitive and human rights-based approaches for the stresses of migration cycle, enhance international cooperation in the spirit of solidarity and global responsibility sharing through dialogues, sharing of information and technology, and effective collaboration for implementing a people-centric and pragmatic framework of commitments for better managing trans-border human mobility.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to pronounce maybe one more sentence.
Okay.
You're very over your time.
Thank you. GCMA should include intensive proposals for social and economic inclusions of migrations in their country of destinations and also in their countries of origin while we consider. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to put my remarks before you all about the role of parliamentarians regarding global compact and follow-up. Migration is global reality. It needs global response. In historic New York Declaration for Refugee and Migrants, member states committed themselves to form a global compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration by pursuing a 2 years long state-led process. The negotiation phase has just started in New York, and outcome will be adopted in Morocco by the end of this year. I'm proud of the fact that during the negotiation of the New York Declaration, my country, Bangladesh, coined the term Global Compact for Migration. The political acumen of Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, guided us in addressing the policy vacuum at global level. Bangladesh dreamed of a global compact for migration that will set out a range of common principles and commitments to deal with all aspects in international migration. The proposed compact should be migrant-centered, rights-based, make important contributions to global governance and enhance international coordination to better manage migration. The Global Compact of Migration should be connected with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The maximum benefit from migration could only be achieved through its mainstreaming into global, regional, and national development policies. Besides the development aspect, the human face of the migrants are to be fully recognized. Human rights of migrants should be respected without any prejudice to their legal status. The compact should encourage full inclusion of migrants with host societies and put an end to xenophobia, hate crimes, and other forms of discrimination towards migrants. We also need to acknowledge the special needs of forcibly displaced people beyond national borders. In this regard, I would like to mention that since 25th August of 2017, more than 1 million Rohingya from Myanmar took shelter in Bangladesh. From the experience of our liberation our days in 1971, Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina kindly decided to accept all those oppressed people who are victims of ethnic cleansing, gang rape, and other forms of persecution. She is also determined to ensure safe, voluntary, and dignified return of those Rohingyas to their motherland in compliance with the historical 5-point announcement that she made at United Nations while addressing the Rohingya humanitarian crisis. In this connection, I'd like to say that during our liberation era, 10 million Bangladeshi peoples took shelter in our neighboring country, India. The then Prime Minister of India and Indian government and peoples of India provided us all supports like housing, food, our medical aid, and etc. We are very happy to remember their contribution in our liberation era. Our expectation from the Global Compact are the following: protect rights of migrants regardless of migratory status, open channels for safe, orderly, regular, and responsible migration at all scale levels to meet labor market demands, maintain the integrity of national borders to address irregular migration and combating migrant smuggling and trafficking, provide effective protection for migrants in vulnerable situations, ensure inclusion of migrants in host societies, including to non-discrimination and access to health, education, and labor market, enhance the development impacts of migration, which includes ethical recruitment, lowering recruitment cost, prohibition of visa trading, establishing redress mechanism, faster, cheaper, and smart transfer of remittance, creating opportunities for diaspora engagement and capacity building at national level to support oil-managed migration. The unrecognized, though vital, role of middlemen is in different stages of migration cycle need to be reflected in migration policy and legislation.
Pain and sufferings of the migrants during the pre-migration, transit, post-migration, and after returning home should be addressed by the compact. Every country today is country of origin, transit and destination. Parliamentarians have an effective and vital role to play in this increasingly globalized world for efficient management of human mobility. At one hand, they make the law for the land to shape national policy, while on the other hand, they represent the aspiration of the people from the grassroots. Therefore, the parliamentarians have the first-hand experience to deal with migration. The meaningful implementation of proposed compact need a strong support from national and sub-national level. Therefore, it is important to hear the voice of parliamentarians. As the legislative authority, parliamentarians' role is vital in ensuring protection of migrants through framing rights-based and comprehensive migration policies. They can ensure that migrants are included in national action plan and strategies. This will help the migrants to better access to health care, education, information, justice, and other public facilities. As a local authority, parliamentarians can play a significant role in changing negative public perception about migration and full integration of migrants. Parliamentarians can also facilitate reintegration of migrants to their home society by providing special privilege in business and investment. In Bangladesh, we have formed a National Parliamentary Caucus on Migration and Development. The caucus remained engaged in a number of national consultations in recent time to collect input for this global compact of migrants. This IPO hearing brings us together from different parts of the world for a common purpose to better understand the multifaceted and complex process of migration. In the Zero Draft, by linking this compact as non-legally binding, possibly we have made a compromise with its potentials. The Zero Draft proposed a compact which will be in line with existing conventions, protocols, and frameworks, and will promote the rule of law. We noted with great concern that the draft failed to mention the UN Convention for Protection of Rights of All Migrant Workers and their Family Members, Convention number 1990, and the ILO Convention 189 to the rights of domestic workers. The successful implementation of these actionable commitments on the ground will be a challenge. Only a strong follow-up and review mechanism may ensure the future implementation of GCM. IOM can play a leading role in existing support for capacity building at national level. Funding will remain as a question. As parliamentarians, we have a key and crucial role to play by providing essential political tractions and ensuring whole of society and whole of government approach the future implementation of this people-based compact. The global compact may be seen as milestone, but not the end of our efforts to address the issue of migration holistically. I firmly believe that similar dialogues and constructive engagement of parliamentarians on the migration need to be arranged on a regular basis at regional and global levels. I would like to humbly suggest that member states follow the example of Bangladesh in establishing similar national platforms for parliamentarians to focus the migration and development. I request IPU to extend technical support to this national caucus. Thank you, everybody, for hearing me. All the opinion and comments from different member state. Actually, migration and migrants has two phases on development and right base. Every response should be right based, not only development. Migrants are absolutely human beings, they're not commodity. So the human rights and minimum standard of human rights should be respected for all migrants at everywhere of this world. Migrants and their families' pain and sufferings is so deeper. That should be find out, and that should be considered by all country origin and country destination. Therefore, I conclude my comments by saying that let us work together to have a very good global compact of migration to ensure the safe, orderly, and regular migration. Thank you very much. Thank you.